What's good, everybody? Welcome to another broadcast here at Fast Break here for iSports Radio. Usually for sports. Locke, the NBA Cup Finals have commenced, and the New York Knicks has won. Your quick thoughts on the New York Knicks winning the NBA Cup championship?
I ain't gonna say too much shocking. I wasn't expecting them to be up there. But I did think that OKC was gonna have a run at it. But the Knicks look like one of the better teams in the NBA right now, and they definitely showed it.
So we'll just dive into that, the NBA Cup fallout, how these teams gonna look, post NBA Cup and go from there. Plus, we'll go around scores and news around the league. The Clippers last night got a big win over the Lakers with Luka, Austin Reeves out with injuries. And then also looking at scores around college basketball as well. So a big weekend there as well. But this is Fast Break here, live for iSports Radio. You're ready for all sports. And we'll catch you on the other side after these messages.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. iSports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And welcome live to the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here tonight on Fast Break here for iSports Radio. You're the follower sports. D-Locke, how you doing tonight? How was Dallas? Were you down there last week? How was Dallas?
Dallas was pretty cool. I definitely went out there to learn a lot in my career as far as a coach. So I was able to run into a lot of former coaches and athletes, former athletes who are coaches. So it was pretty cool. Different time zone. I was expecting Dallas to be a little bit warmer than what it actually was, but I was in class almost every day from 8 to 10 just about. So it's pretty packed. Got to connect with some more people and went from there. So hopefully it pays off moving forward. But more knowledge is good. Knowledge is always power.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. You figure coming down south, you'll get a little warm weather, but last week that hawk came through for everybody around the South. So including myself here in Alabama, we got that hawk. Now it's kind of warming up here. It should be like at least close to 70 degrees for Christmas. So, different vibes, stuff like that. So, all right. Last week, I did a show solo. You missed, talking about the NBA Cup, Sunbelt Finals, all that. Victor Wembanyama's return against the OKC Thunder, and then your Knicks and the Knicks and your Magic playing as well. Your quick thoughts on the semifinals, especially with the Spurs beating the OKC Thunder. Your thoughts on the semifinals as a whole in Vegas this past week.
I mean, I definitely was shocked by a couple of things. I wasn't expecting Spurs to beat the Thunder. You know what I mean? That was just something that even with Victor coming back, I just thought the Thunder, who's been on that roll, was going to make it. I didn't think they were going to blow them out, but I thought the Thunder was definitely going to make it. The Magic, not being fully healthy played a huge part, I think. Playing against the Knicks. Now, the Knicks, we already know was very much loaded. But them not having everybody played a huge part as well. So, but that it comes with it. That's the next man up mentality. That's the case. So they should have been ready. But the Knicks, they played extremely well. It came down to the bottom of in that fourth quarter between Knicks and Magic. It was close for a while. They were sticking around for a minute, but then the Knicks showed the depth that they have. And went from there. So for me, the Knicks did earn it. Then the NBA, the Cup Finals. The Knicks showed that they're the better team. So maybe they're the first team that can possibly win, which I originally had OKC doing is winning the first team to win the NBA Cup and the NBA Finals. Could the Knicks possibly do that? We'll see. Like I said, they went out there and performed and did well. Now, are they peaking too early? That's something that we'll find out later on down the road. Obviously, their minutes look a lot different this year than last year. So hopefully that plays a part moving forward. But on the East, I don't see another team that's going to come in and make a drastic push other than, Magic and the Knicks. Maybe the Cavs, but them having key injuries is playing a part as well. So for me, that's something that always going to play a key part, especially on these teams that are loaded like this. So we're going to see. But big congratulations to the Knicks, man. I think right now, if they can continue to play like this, we might be able to see them, go to the NBA Finals. Have Stephen A. Smith acting the fool on ESPN.
Let's talk about the finals for a little bit. The Knicks, Spurs, and NBA Cup Finals. And it was a big surprise, that the Spurs, well, I don't say surprise, but like you alluded to, but, it's real shocking that the Spurs stopped that OKC Thunder winning streak and they won a big way in the semifinals. And then you come to the finals, well, I talked about last week, this is a potential, the way that Spurs been playing the early part of the season along OKC, you're talking about a possible potential NBA Finals matchup between the Knicks and the Spurs. Maybe not. But, the Spurs showed that they could beat the OKC Thunder at that full streak with Victor back and the difference maker he did. Now, the Knicks making the NBA Cup Finals and winning, let's go right here. They win 124-113. The Knicks rallied from an 11-point fourth quarter deficit to defeat the Spurs 124-113 in Vegas, capturing the 2025 Emirates NBA Cup, first trophy since 1973 of any kind. So big win for the Knicks. They did announce they weren't going to raise a banner like the previous teams that won did. They were just going to celebrate, but raise no banner. Their choice.
Mhm.
But for them, I think it's a great thing for them to kind of get some, I guess, a symbolic thing, symbolic victory for them in a sense. Like over the years, the Knicks, they really haven't done crap since the turn of the century. They made these. They all make these moves and stuff like that. They sign these free agents. They change coaches in and out, GMs, all that stuff. And at certain peaks, they peak well at certain points, and then they come back up, and then. But now I think for the past few years, with Leon Rose in tow, you sign Jalen Brunson, then you bring guys in like Julius Randle, and then after that, start bringing in other guys around the fold. Your thoughts on the Knicks winning in, and can they turn this into a rally point of can we do more?
I think they can. I think the Knicks, like I said, I think they all, we talked about it before, having them go to the NBA Finals. So I think this team could possibly do that. Looking at their minutes, only person that went over 35 minutes, or two people, was Brunson and Anunoby in his NBA Cup championship. So this is different than what we seen last year, because last year we see all of them have 36, 38, average 36 to 38 minutes. So they can move forward with this. They can put a good group together and continue to progress. I think that'd be good, but it's all about health. And if they can be healthy, then I think they'll be a team to reckon with. So for me, I think that they'll be fine. It's just, continue to stay healthy. Because right now the East doesn't look like it's too loaded right now. Like I said, you got maybe top 3, top 4 teams, and from there, it kind of drops off a little bit. So the Knicks are one of those teams. So I think the Knicks could do something with this. They just got to stay healthy.
I said, in the preview of the NBA Cup Finals, it's like, can the Knicks, use this as kind of like momentum? You were this close to the NBA Finals last year. You had home court advantage. We talked about this like early this year, coincidentally. They got home field advantage. They playing one of their arch rivals, the Pacers. Had all the momentum in the world after beating the Celtics. And then, the Pacers come in and rip it out of them. And now, as we learn about Giannis and stuff like that, he asked for a trade during this past summer to the Knicks and didn't really materialize. And now, this core of this team, Brunson, Karl Towns, Mitch Robinson, OG Anunoby, Miles Bridges, Miles McBride, and so forth. Now, you got a good core. These guys been together. Josh Hart, forgot to mention him. That you got a solid roster. You got a solid core. Can y'all make positive steps along the way that come trade deadline, you're not trying to make a move for you?
Right.
Because if you trade for Giannis, I'm not saying you could win a champ. Not saying you will guarantee to win a championship with him, but you got to show after winning this championship that you're not going in the slump and all that stuff, and you're going to keep things the right way. Because if you break the nucleus up, how is Giannis going to fit with this crew? Who's going to get moved? You know what I'm saying? How are those things going to shake out?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that they won. You know, I always, still got the peg making the NBA championship against the OKC Thunder. And I think this is the positive stuff, right steps in the right direction. So, it's a great win for them, great win for the city that's continuing that momentum. The fans are not looking focused and stuff like that. It's like, damn, we win this NBA Cup. Okay, cool. How can we build off on that? So you got to keep momentum on. If you're Mike Brown, keep the momentum going, keep the positive energy going. Just the only thing you got to do is keep these guys upright and healthy. That's the main thing. But I think I like the win. I think it's solid step for New York. That can't just have the hangover like the previous teams that got to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that who was it? Pacers won last year, correct?
Who won last year? That's a good question.
I think it was the Pacers. Pretty sure I think it was the Pacers. I'm probably get it mistaken. But they end up going to the NBA Finals.
I think it was hold on. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think they probably played against the Pacers, but you got a team that Milwaukee won, but what happened later on in the season? Injuries kind of kicked in, but you call Indiana, who capitalized with the opportunity. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton was on fire all later on in the season. He being clutch athlete of the year last year in all sports.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, you take what's going on now, and can they continue to bounce off of this and say, hey, we're gonna continue to stay healthy and progress with this? Because they could be right now, I mean, technically being NBA Cup champs, they're the best team in the NBA. So can they continue to show that? And that's the thing. Now, granted, I think it being at kind of a neutral site, that home court advantage does play a part, but it's not as it's not making a big impact. And that's what happens in the NBA playoffs. So for me, I think that they got to continue to stay healthy and progress with this. And some teams, like I said, the Spurs, they add another player. Orlando, you got issues right now, health. Got to get healthy. You know what I mean? So it's going to play a part of what happens moving forward. Cleveland, I mean, we talked about them before. Now you got these big, huge injury issues. We played a part last year in the playoffs. So now, how do you move forward throughout the rest of the season? 2026 is around the corner, which is right in the meat of this NBA season. We want to see the Knicks continue to be consistent. That's what I think we'll see if this team can continue making the NBA Finals.
And I'm gonna stay in the East for a second. The Celtics are kind of rising back up.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of got to a rocky start. I won't say rocky start, but they're kind of like, okay, there was a filling out process with Tatum being out. But they kind of got their bearings together, and they're number 3 in the East right now. New York, the team we've been talking about, they're still behind Detroit with 2 games. So they still got a little catching up to do to catch Detroit. Now, as for Boston, you got Philly at 16-11, Toronto 17-12, your Orlando Magic 16-12, Miami 15-3, and Cleveland 15-4. To me, I'll be honest with you, the way Cleveland's been playing and injuries in and out and stuff like that, I'm not saying they can make a comeback, but I think some changes got to happen with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who gets moved first. I'm thinking maybe Darius Garland, because he can't stay on the floor for nothing right now. And I think he'd be the first logical one to move. To where, I don't know. But I think that would be the first domino there if they happen to move off somebody to shake up the score, because it's not happening. Right now with them, this past Friday, they lost to Chicago Bulls, 136-25. Vooch had double-double. Bazilis had 24 points as well. And then, Garland did have 35 points and 8 assists in that matchup. But, you had no Donovan Mitchell. No Evan Mobley. Larry Nance is out. Max Strus is still out. So the team is just like, the walking wounded in a sense. It's like, despite all the success they had last year, now this year you can't replicate it because one guy's out, another guy's out, this guy's out. And at some point it's going to bite you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And look where we're at now. I think they're still a playoff team, but I don't think we're not talking championship this year.
Nah.
It sucks to say that because they got a hell of a roster that can't compete when fully healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the Knicks real quick, Detroit playing well, the Celtics coming back around. I think in the Sixers and your Magic, I think that's the only real core, my opinion, the core teams right there. I'm not sold on Toronto. I'm not there yet with them. I'm not there yet with them. The Hawks. I don't know what's going to happen with Porzingis. The health issues
no question with him.
That illness is still kicking his ass. Trae Young, he's still out. Shout out to Jalen Johnson kind of holding things together. But if they didn't have Jalen Johnson, I think this team would probably be hanging around where Charlotte and the Pacers at in the standings.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, like you said, is you said 3 words: when fully healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to be healthy to do a lot of these things. If you're not, then that's where things play a huge part. Because if you can't be healthy, then it's going to be very tough. You got these different injuries going on, like it's not going to help anything at all. And that's the biggest thing we said about Porzingis even getting traded to Boston.
Yeah,
we said when he got over there, it was like, this is a hell of a pickup if he can stay healthy. So they utilized that, for the right time and the best, and it played a part. It's just now, it's the same situation, in Atlanta. Just something. So, but a team that does stay healthy, I think that team probably goes the farthest. If the Knicks can do that, we might see them in the NBA Finals, which we haven't seen in years.
And kind of stay on like who's going to show up next and whatnot after the NBA Cup. Let me ask you this: where is Victor Wembanyama's next step in your eyes? He came back semifinals, played strong in limit restriction, and kind of changed the vibe of the game. Is that right there? Same thing against the Knicks. And let me pull up that stat line real quick. Wow, this so straight. He had a great game of little bit minutes that he played. There we go. Off the bench, 24 minutes, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 1 steal. Your thoughts on him and what's his next step, towards his career and what he can do to kind of get the Spurs back into that perennial playoff race?
I think, for him, we've been talking about that word health all night, and I think that's the same thing with him.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be healthy. If he can be healthy, I think this team is going to be a team to watch for years. Now, I know. Remember when we seen Giannis, who used to look very thin, you know what I mean? But we see him grow into the body that he has now, and he's literally a top 3, top 2 player in the league right now. Argument of the best player in the league. I think Victor is in that same situation. I think not necessarily putting on a lot more weight, but once he gain a little bit more muscle, I think it's going to protect the injury part. And now you do got this dominant feature on your team for years to come. Now, we've seen historically great players leave Milwaukee. We haven't seen that really in San Antonio. So I don't really see Victor leaving San Antonio even in 15 or 5 to 10 years. I think that's something that's going to mold over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he can, like I said, when he does grow into, gain some more muscle, and do those things, I think he's gonna be a hard player to stop. I mean, he's only 21, so right now I think you give him a couple more years. Now we're gonna see him be that player on 2K who's literally 99 overall, and they can do everything. Like we're seeing how this guy's playing. He's shooting threes, and he can do anything. So with the range that he have, I think his only weakness right now is, does he get into that injury prone range? And that's something that I think he has to avoid. And how we do that is obviously rehab, but then put some more muscle on there. We seen in the series Michael Jordan talked about gaining more muscle. You know what I mean? Dealing with Detroit Pistons. You know what I mean? Like I said, we seen Giannis gain more muscle and be that player he was going to be. So I think once his body matures more, he gets into that frame that he's going to be at for his whole career. It's gonna be very scary. Not for the whole NBA league, because now the Spurs have gotten their player who they can lean on and build around for a long time.
I think for me, like, he showed flashes dominance, but the minutes restriction and late games stagnation still a different story. While he played well, he was catching alley-oops and stuff like that on his tippy toes and reverse jamming and stuff like that. That was like, damn, how can you stop that? I was like watching it, like, damn, how can you stop that?
Mm-hmm.
And I previewed that matchup, between Knicks and Spurs, like, by Mike Brown, if he's on the minutes restrictions again, have Mitchell Robinson follow him. There would basically be a shadow. So if Victor's coming out, Mitchell Robinson's coming out. I'll tell Karl-Anthony Towns, hey, you got to dominate inside. You got to take advantage. You got to dominate Luke Cornett. You got to dominate Harrison Barnes down low. You got to dominate those guys. Mitch Robinson, if I was Mike Brown, I would relate to him like, hey, stay in front of him. Don't worry about the paint. Make his life a little bit hell offensively. But don't let him get off. Stay in front of him. Play the passing lanes, all that good stuff. At most part, they did that, but great players always kind of rise past your game plan. And I think for Victor, there's good things he did, but I think, still a lot of things to work through. And also Mitch Johnson as well, the coach for the Spurs. A lot of things he could work through as well. Yeah. So I think this team, another team I brought up last week that's kind of the Giannis sweepstakes in a sense. Do they fall in a slump that they had to make a change as well? And I don't think they should either. Grow this young team. You got a nice young core. Dylan Harper back in action, shooting the ball very well in the NBA Cup semifinals and finals. So you got a nice little nucleus. Castle, Vassell, Harrison Barnes, that's a nice veteran. They have role players and stuff like that. So a very nice core with this team. And like you mentioned, if Victor can stay on the court, it'll make a world difference.
Yeah, and I think that plays a part is him staying healthy, because they got a lot of nice pieces already, and they're young too. So they got a lot of nice pieces. It's just now they got to be able to build upon that and stay healthy. He stay healthy, man, and he's at the right franchise for it to happen.
Looking at that line right now, they're playing the Washington Wizards right now as we speak. In the third quarter, 85-68, the Spurs are up. Victor off the bench again. Thus far, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. Against the Wizards. De'Aaron Fox, 20 points for him, 4 assists thus far. Stephen Castle, 14 points, 8 assists for him on those side of things. So Spurs playing well. They're 20-7. They're second in the West. The Wizards are without Alex Sarr tonight. Marvin Bagley has not played yet, so they're without him. Chris Middleton. So the Wizards are depleted once again. So you look at a Spurs team, they're 20-7, tied with the Denver Nuggets in the West. So a lot of work to do. Still, the OKC Thunder still 22-3. 25-3. So they lost to the Timberwolves the other night, but they still the team to beat in our eyes as well. Before we get out here for our first break, D-Locke, OKC. Granted, they didn't win the NBA Cup, but your projection for them post NBA Cup run?
I don't think nothing changes. I think the NBA Cup just gave them the tape that they needed for the tape and see what team it can impact their chances to repeat. And it is, I think, if the Spurs can stay healthy, I think that's probably the team that can probably match with them if they get to 7 games or in a series. The question is, do the Spurs get to play them in the series? But I think that that just showed them, hey, this is kind of reality. Yeah, we've been kind of cruising through the NBA, whipping ass, cool. But there is a team that can kind of roll with us, on the West, not even the East yet. So I think that was something that was like a, heads up, hey, we up there, but there's a team that can damn sure compete with us. And I think we had the Spurs. Both of us had the Spurs kind of up there in the previews anyway. So I'm not really surprised. But now, SGA has to see that, and the rest of OKC, that there's another big dog in the Spurs in the Spurs down the West. So gotta be prepared for it. Can't take it for granted.
Let's put a pin right there because I think I want to bring up another team after the break that may challenge them, OKC and the Spurs, as one of the top dogs in the West. But we'll take a quick break. On the other side of things, I'll bring that up here. But this is Fast Break here for Ice Sports Radio. You're doing for Sports. We'll catch you on the other side.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, You can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the broadcast here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for iSports Radio, the VR Sports. On the ticker below, do follow iSports Radio on your social media feeds, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Try and get those YouTube numbers up. The road to 500 is well underway. Anytime our show goes live, hit that like and hit the little bell notification. So every time we go live around 7-ish or a little past 7, you get a notification. Once we go live, like and share the show. It will help us out greatly as well in that department. But do, like I said, follow iSports Radio on all your social media feeds right there. Right along the little ticker right there, okay? D-Locke, I want to talk about this team right here. And this team's been playing very well. The Denver Nuggets. I think everybody is kind of, and rightfully so, hung up on OKC and their hot start. And attached with that, you know, what happens with the LA Clippers and how they play each and every night. And that pick going to the OKC Thunder, in which they selected, they got a richer talent over there. But, you know, Spurs, the Knicks, rightfully so, the Lakers, people talk about with Luke and all that stuff. But the Nuggets, they got the longest winning streak in the West right now at 6 games. Jokic playing very well, and in doing this without Christian Braun and Eric Gordon as well. We talked about the Nuggets in the season preview series. It's like at least Western semifinals, maybe Western finals. But, you know, there's some other teams that are kind of in the way. Your thoughts on the Nuggets thus far this season?
I'm honestly not surprised with this team. I mean, you got Jokic and Jamal Murray still on this team that won that championship years back. We talked about them moving on from Michael Porter then when they won the NBA Finals. And what they did was they did that and got more depth, and got more defense. So I think it was a good move for them. I said it was a hell of a pickup for them to get Valanciunas. They ran into OKC at some point, having Chet Holmgren and Hartenstein and all those bigs. Hell, at some point running into the Timberwolves, who at one point had Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns, or Gobert and Julius Randle and Naz Reid. One of the things that the Nuggets needed was to not rely so much on Jokic, which he's going to have his numbers. But now when you get all these other guys back on the defensive side, having, Peyton Watson, Cameron Johnson, and now bringing back Bruce Brown, who was a key part of that team that end up helping them win against the Heat, you got that defense that you needed, right? You brought back that defense. So these guys that you got, they played a huge part. And for me, I think one of the biggest key pickups was Tim Hardaway. Also, yeah, you loaded up on the defensive side, but now you got some offense that you just kicked in. So for me, I like what they've done and how they look. I mean, I think that they're going to be a team to reckon with. And we always talk about the West being tough anyway. The West is always going to be pretty tough. So for me, having Bruce Brown back there, who can come in and play the point guard if he need to. Cameron Johnson, who can give you that defense a little bit. And okay, you lost Michael Porter, but hell, you got Tim Hardaway replaced, so you got somebody who can come out and shoot a lot of shots if needed. So for me, I like what this team is doing. And like I said, they had a hell of an offseason, and they had to have that because OKC was going to come back loaded up. The Spurs, we knew they were going to be pretty good. The Lakers, got LeBron and Reeves and Luka. So they got these, like these pieces that play a huge part. So they had to come back and resurge themselves. They added a few pieces, but I like this team. It's gonna be tough. I still think the Thunder is still the best team in the West, until proven otherwise. But to me, your young guys are playing pretty well. Like I said, Peyton Watson is stepping up big time this year. He's coming in and playing pretty consistent, and that's what they needed. Is for these other guys to come in and play that role when Jokic is off the court. So I like this team. Again, staying healthy is key for them. I think Spencer Jones also coming in, playing the big role. You have a good amount of guys that now this team looks, to be honest, I think this team is better without Michael Porter. I don't see a huge. So for me, watch out for the Nuggets, man. They can do some stuff special. It's just that West is very tough. Very tough.
I think for me, I look at the Nuggets and, got a little ahead of myself. They did lose to the Rockets the other night, but, they lose 115-101 with Jokic with 25 points in the loss and 16 points from Jamal Murray. And I think that's the thing for me. Like with this, if this team's gonna make at least the Western Finals against whoever, Murray's got to be very, very consistent. And I think at times he scores well and stuff like that. And other times you look up, it's 17 points, but they lose in about double digits like this. Bruce Brown had a solid game with the bench, 12 points for him and 2 steals. Pickett, 10 points for him off the bench. Valanciunas, 10 points for him. So, they're doing this, like I said, without Christian Braun, without Eric Gordon. So, once those guys get back and whenever they get back, I think, will help out with their depth and whatnot. But even before they go out, some of these guys have to step up. Tim Hardaway in that loss to the Rockets, 29 minutes and 8 points. That's not going to cut it to me. To me, that's not going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if this team got championship aspirations, which they always should, since they got Jokic in tow, that should not stop. But, seeing like the other teams we talking about here, Durant had 31 points in that matchup. And I don't know if you saw this or not the past week, but this fool said he don't shower much. He don't brush his head. He don't like putting lotion on. It's good to have money. I just say that.
Yeah.
But anyways, Robbie Smith, 22 points and 10 rebounds in that matchup. And in the midst, talk about Chris Paul and stuff like that, they still need point guard. They still need somebody to kind of direct and stuff like that. And with Chris Paul going out like the way he did with the Clips,
mm-hmm.
that'd be the perfect landing spot to me if you need somebody there. And I think with Chris Paul going out like he did, getting, with Jeff Van Gundy, Ty Lue telling him no, and stuff like that, I think Chris Paul, if he's getting picked up somewhere, I think Houston should be that place. And if he's gonna go out one last year, you know, with a bang or whatever, I think the Rockets with him, and I'm not saying give him starter minutes, but a good 15 minutes here each game, I think they'll go a long way for them. Just kind of stabilize that backcourt a little bit and kind of give them a true point guard to kind of facilitate things. And he'll be perfect with Sengun the pick and rolls. Going to the basket. And even that opportunity ain't there for the basket. You know, look who you got on the outside, Kevin Durant, Robbie Smith, who can, you know, pick and pot or pump fake, drive to the basket. You know, Thompson, who should be better as a 3-point scorer. If he gets better there, then they'll go a long way with this Houston team. You know, Reed Shepherd has really come alive this year. And I don't know if you put him in the category of like most improved player, but he may get it just because. But he's in the running. But I think, you know, back to the Nuggets, I think they've been playing pretty well. Not talked about. But, you know, like I mentioned about the Rockets, if they kind of just tweak a couple things, I think they'll go a long way for them. You know, and the Nuggets, like I said, get back Braun, get back Gordon. We'll see how they look and back into the rotation of things. But the Lakers still playing strong despite the loss to the Clippers. Spurs playing well. And OKC, you know, it seems like they can't be touched. And after that, no, I don't say nobody else really matters, but it's like the teams below them just got like little like roster issues that they're not going to overcome these other teams.
Yep. And I think that the biggest thing is, like, you know, when I said earlier, the East has maybe 2 or 3, 4 teams, then it drops off. The West is the exact opposite. The exact. You know, you got teams that's possibly not going to be in that top 8 or make the play-in that can make it on the East side. So one little move on your roster is going to play a huge part, a very huge part. And that's just something that, like I said, it plays a big role. And as exciting as the playoffs are, I think we all definitely love to see those matchups on the West side from 1 to 8, because we know that, you know, hell, even play in, we're like, damn, somebody ain't gonna make it that should make it. So it's scary.
And then kind of touch on like these teams below, the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry playing very well at his age. You know, but they got a roster problem as well. I was listening to Brian Jones this past week. I forgot who he had on there, but we talked about the 2 timeline thing and the roster and construction and stuff like that. And the guy brought up, you know, Jonathan Kuminga, and, you know, they went so hard about it, you know, keeping him and stuff like that, and then Steve Kerr doesn't play him. And, you know, it's like, what's the point, you know, blocking him, not going to Sacramento, not going to Phoenix, not doing the sign trade for somebody else, you know, like a Larry Marketing, who y'all could have had if you traded him, but Steve Kerr don't want to play the man. And I know Golden State maybe trying to do something here in the coming weeks, but they got to figure something out as well. Because they hang around that playing territory. Yeah, they won against Phoenix. They won against Phoenix the other night. And, you know, Curry had 28 points. Jimmy Butler had 25. Draymond got ejected, you know, because he's Draymond. and punching people inside the head. But yeah, Kaminga didn't play last night. Al Horford has barely seen the court as a Golden State Warrior. You know, Buddy Hield. See, Laker fans, this is why you don't give up multiple picks for role players. Because look at Buddy Hield now, getting DNPs with a stable franchise. Miles Turner not being big. I mean, I'm not saying difference maker, but look at Miles Turner at now. So it seems like, you know, moves that, you know, the Lakers should look at and stuff like that. Look at it now. Look at Buddy Hield now getting DNPs. Will Weicker has taking his spot basically. You know, so back to the Warriors and, you know, talking about Kaminga. Why keep the man?
Mm-hmm.
And do you got a coach and owner situation that seems like the owner likes this kid, but the coach don't? And you know, Utah's playing pretty well for what they do, but are they willing to blow it up and get rid of Laurie Marketing? I don't know. It's tough. So this West is tough to figure out. It's for these teams, if they're going to try and make a run, you know, they got to figure it out. I hate seeing Steph Curry like this telling his career when he's playing very well. And I think they kind of did him a disservice for the past couple years with their roster construction. But damn, what are we doing here? I'll just that last word.
I mean, like I said, I think being on the West, you can't have no losing streak in the West. You get on a losing streak in the West, you in some trouble. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Like I said, now you if you're that team that's on the cusp of making the playoffs, you trying to make sure that any games you got against some teams that's 7 in the top that's ahead of you, those are probably more important now. You got to get those key matchups. You know, we talked about earlier a little bit about my Bucks having a game against the Panthers, and it's literally whoever wins takes over that top spot and may have a better chance in the playoffs. It's the same thing with teams that are at 8 or 9 or 10 or at 7 in the West rankings. You get a chance to play the team that's at 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. That game is a damn near playoff game right now. Like, you got to get those wins, because if not, you're going to keep falling farther behind. And if you're at 8, you can't afford that. So you're at 7, you can't afford the hell. You're at 7, you're looking at teams 8, 9, and 10, not just 5 and 4 and 3. So, you know what I'm saying? It's a situation to be in, which we love, because we love to see competitive basketball. You know, we love to see competitive in any sports, but it makes it very interesting. And definitely love to see it, man. So injuries play a huge part even on the West. And as much as we know OKC is the best team in the West, you got teams 2 and 3 and 4 that's literally right behind them. You know, we always talk about OKC being the best, but we just see them lose to the Spurs, which means that there's a team out there that can be ready to come to play. Thing is, they got to beat them in a 7-game series, but all to do is you got to stack one at a time. And if you give a team a little bit of momentum, they start believing, and boom, now we're on that 3rd or 4th game they can possibly win. So seeing the West like this is very interesting. I think it's not going to change at all.
So with Christmas coming up, a very huge slate in the NBA. Just run down. I was going to run down that card real quick, because we won't be, well, we'll talk after the show. But Christmas, you got the Cavs, Knicks in New York. And then you got Rockets, Lakers. Then Thunder Spurs once again. So that should be a great one in the middle of the afternoon. Mavericks Warriors. You know, Klay Thompson going back to the Bay Area. Cooper Flag playing very well right now. I think he's really starting to come to his own now. So he's really playing well. And then the other rivalry, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets as well. So very heavy plated games on Christmas Day. D-Lock, which matchup in Christmas do you look forward to?
I mean, it's a lot. To be honest, that I'm like, man, like this game coming around, I'm definitely gonna have my eyes glued to TV, and it's actually, obviously starting off with the Cavs and the Knicks. That's gonna be a very interesting one. But if I had to pick, man, I got to give it to Spurs and the Thunder again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see this rematch and see how do the Thunder adjust to them losing to them, during the NBA Cup. I want to see now, hey, this team did shock us. You know what I mean? We wasn't kind of expecting that. How do they kind of adjust? Because, again, we're talking about eventually possibly being in a 7-game series who may go to the NBA Finals. So, like I said, it's about confidence. Spurs got you on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you mess around letting them come back on Thursday in OKC and get you. So now it's like, oh, damn, yeah, this team, not only they beatable, but we, you know what I'm saying, we on their hip. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the biggest matchups I want to see. The Cavs, man, Cavs and Knicks, you just never know what that roster is about injury-wise right now. It's kind of up and down. Mavs and Warriors, it'll be pretty interesting. I just don't see it matching up as good as Spurs and Thunder. Lakers and Rockets, I definitely like that one too. Nuggets and Timberwolves. And like I said, you got some great matchups this whole day. But that one at 2:30, it's gonna be one that's gonna open up a lot of those results are probably gonna be ones we're gonna be looking at. Damn, okay, this is what we've seen. We talk about it next time. This is what we've seen. Let's see if they made an adjustment. What did they do different? If there was something they did different.
Just looking at the slate, just like it's gonna be a hell of a slate. I know the NFL is gonna compete. I forgot which games will be on Christmas though. I think it's Chiefs Broncos later on the night with Mahomes. Well, hell, no Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Gardner Minshew tore his ACL against the Titans. Hell, I don't know, man. They can't flex that. They can't flex that crap anymore. It's already set in stone. But if you're in the NBA, you gotta take advantage of it.
Yeah.
No Mahomes. I mean, yeah, they got Bo Nix on the other side of things, but it's Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the NBA, hey, you gotta push that shit. Hey, Pat's out. Hell, you can see 50 Wembanyama. You can see Jay Gilgeous-Alexander. You can see Jalen Brunson early in the morning.
Yep.
Karl-Anthony Towns, Donovan Mitchell. Later in the night, you can see Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And then you see the Jokic, Anthony Edwards. And then you see the top overall pick, Cooper Flag and Steph Curry. Marketing. That's easy. That's easy marketing right there. So if I was them, I'd be pushing hard on that. Come see the stars. We got the stars all lined up for you all throughout the day. All that stuff. If they were smart. But I know the NBA kind of cowers on that, but they should take advantage of that. But the game I'm looking forward to, and be real interesting how things play out. I look at the Lakers and Rockets only because, hopefully Austin Reeves will be back at that time. And I know Luka went out with the injury against the Clippers last night. in which, you know, the Clippers played pretty well. Kawhi played very well, but it seemed like few and far between. In the Clippers, they lose Ivana Zubac out for a good few weeks due to his ankle sprain, and he's kind of been like, you know, they're road warrior in the sense that he's been playing consistent basketball for them since he got there. But, you know, I look at this matchup for multiple persons and stuff like that. Clint Capella has not played much with the Rockets. I mean, he played, but it's not, you know, as much as, you know, I think we kind of expected. It's like, damn. You know, they signed Steven Adams, they signed this dude, they still got some goons. Okay, they go to more bigger lineups and stuff like that. But that really hasn't had much. So I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. You know, the Lakers' lack of size, can Houston take advantage of that and use those multiple bigs to kind of punch the Lakers down low, rebounding and all that stuff, and kind of get a big time win during Christmas. But I think the other matchup I look forward to, like I said, OKC and the Spurs. You know, will Victor at that point be on still be on a miss restriction? If he still is, you know, they still could win the game. But if he's not, we talk about a different dynamic with that group, and he can neutralize Holmgren and Hartenstein down low for the most part. My thing is those guys like Bassel and Castle, Darren Fox, and Dylan Harper, can they contain Jalen Williams and SGA well enough for them to win that game? So, you know, the Christmas slate looking pretty good in my eyes. And the NBA has got to take, you know, full advantage of. Hell, let me pull up the NFL slate real quick.
I think Cowboys and Commanders play early than the Lions and the Vikings.
So two teams, Cowboys and Commanders, who not in the playoff mix no more. The Lions and Vikings rivalry. And then, like we mentioned about the Chiefs and the Broncos. So the NBA, yeah, they got to be all over that. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got Mahomes going. I mean, you got Dak, Bo Nix, Vikings. And I guess you could say the Vikings and the Lions can be pretty interesting. But, nah, I mean, there's too many people for the NBA for them to not have the most views, which we definitely talk about. It definitely should be them.
So, Christmas should be advantage NBA this year. Last year, I think kind of get advantage to the NFL for a little bit, but advantage NBA this year. Before we got to D-Locke, I got to shout this lady out, this young lady out in Iowa State. If you're not familiar with this lady, young lady named Audie Crooks, no relation. She's been killing this year. She has scored today against Kansas, in which they won 79-76. Iowa State signed close. The women's team are ranked 10th in the nation. Audie Crooks, 40 points, D-Locke, 4 rebounds, 3 assists in the win against the Jayhawks. I do have to shout her out because she's been balling this year. And, you know, with the WNBA and contract negotiations and expansion, you know, ladies like this will find a roster spot somewhere. So I had to shout her out because she's been killing it down low. And, you know, I think somebody in the women's spectrum that's not getting talked. I mean, she's getting talked about, but, you know, people like to make fun of her weight and stuff like that. But I do got to shout her out because she's been playing excellent ball for the Cyclones. And we're talking about like an Iowa State women's team that could be a sleeper come March when people think of championships and stuff like that. And I think that's somebody, when we do our brackets and stuff for the women's, that's somebody like, can this team slow down all the Crooks down low? You know what I'm saying? So I do got to shout it out and all that stuff. But before I hear D-Locke, on the college basketball side of things, the men's side of things, real quick, going to today's scores. Alabama beat Kennesaw State over in Huntsville, 92-81. I thought about going to that game, man. I was like, damn, I should go. But then, like, the last minute tickets were like over $200. I was like, fuck it, I won't go. But they went 92-81. Nebraska, who still undefeated, by the way, 30-26 on North Dakota right now. I would say men's team, 91-60 over Long Beach State. Another team that's kind of ho-hum, nobody really talking about. Gonzaga, 91-82 over Oregon, who's 6-6 in the season. Connecticut, kind of have a big back year, 72-54 to DePaul. Michigan, once again, beating down fools again, 250 over LaSalle. Tennessee, 94-52 over Gardner-Webb. Vanderbilt, 98-67 over Wake Forest. And your Florida Gators, D-Locke, 90-60 over Colgate. In which last week I talked about Florida, D-Locke, and they played George Washington. George Washington played them tough.
Yeah.
But I give credit to Florida. They pulled away very tough late in that game. How do you feel about the Florida Gators thus far this season?
I think they still have some more room to grow, some things that they can improve on. That game against Duke showed a lot. So now I think, obviously, again, it's still a chance. It doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to come back and be champs. That means also that teams are coming for you. So they still got a good potential to do a lot, but there's a lot more that they can do.
I think, they can improve some things in conference plays coming up. So I think, for them, the Senate 8-4 and the SEC is very loaded. And it's going to be a real dogfight this year. I think everybody's really improved. Everybody's kind of upgraded their rosters and coaching and stuff like that. And it's going to be real interesting to see how things going to play out for them come conference play. Because everybody's above 500 right now in the SEC, and it's going to be real tough to go at for the come next month. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you for D-Locke coming back this week as well. Like I said, follow All Sports Radio on all your social media: X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Road to 500 YouTube. Do give us a follow on there as well. Hit that hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell where all the shows go live in the network. D-Locke, how do people find your social media?
Well, you guys come me at Black-813. I truly believe that game ending the way it did for us was big on Baker on that pick at the end. But we post a lot about that. So let them know they can find you in the show's page.
You find the show's page at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. Probably should have went to the Alabama game and paid the money, but anyways, lost opportunity. I could have lied tweeted, but anyways, follow me at Spawn4288 on Twitter/X. I tweeted some things about the Tennessee Titans and their win over the Chiefs, and people bitching about the picks and not keeping the top spot in the draft, but that's long gone now. So anyways, do follow me there. Like I said, do follow iTunes Radio on all your social media feeds and all that stuff. Next week, I'll be in Nashville in the Titans game, so we'll see about the show and all that. But we'll discuss that off here. But till then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.